Hey everyone, it's me Triton, and today's video covers my thoughts on the 2.5.0.2 patch preview that Bungie streamed yesterday. Take notice that I said thoughts and not initial reaction. When I first heard the news, there were definitely a few things that stood out to me, like the fact that nothing is going to be done to the memory of Skouries, but I felt it was important to collect my thoughts and discuss them with other people who represent different parts of the community before posting a video. Overall, I feel that Bungie really played it safe, and their desire to perhaps give certain weapons and subclasses their time to shine came at the expense of a frustrated community with a clear message. Additionally, it seems like they missed a really good and perhaps their last opportunity to test a different approach with their patches, something that could have proven invaluable as they prepare to launch Destiny 2 later this year. Before we talk about the preview, let's start with what seemed to be the loudest cries from the community: a nerf to the memory of Skouries as a means to curtail camping in certain game modes, a buff to primaries to more effectively combat the dominance of shotguns, and the need to address the Stormcaller subclass. Given what we heard yesterday, they addressed just one and a half of those things. The artifacts of the Iron Lords, which were introduced in the Rise of Iron, breathed life into an otherwise underwhelming piece of equipment in a way that added to the lore. I think that's fantastic, but by not adjusting the memory of Skouries in any way, it comes across as though the flavor of the game means more than how that translates to actual gameplay, at least in PvP. Personally, I don't have a problem with players using what's in the game and at their disposal. With that said, in a PvP setting, I don't feel players should be rewarded for inactivity regardless of how much of a tactical advantage they gain from doing so. It's evident they can adjust how weapons operate in the two environments, PvE and PvP. Even something like reducing the charge rate of Skouries in PvP would have both kept the spirit of the artifact intact while also recognizing that it's being used in a way that most players don't care for. I am glad that Bungie seemed to recognize the need to increase the effectiveness of primaries, or at the very least seemed to realize they needed to be more accurate while in the air across the board. Now, I wasn't someone who felt a blanket buff to all primaries was necessary, and I was a bigger fan of buffing the less used archetypes to fall more in line with the 2 or 3 effective ones that we have currently. The right roll on a Clever Dragon was so widely adopted because of a fast time to kill that was able to combat shotgunners, while the high caliber rounds helped reduce the penalty of engagements against archetypes that excelled at longer ranges. Sure, an increase to the rate of fire for high impact pulses and base damage for low rate of fire autos is great, but will that actually make them more viable counters against shotguns, which I assume is the intent? I'm anxious to find out next Tuesday. The primary changes weren't all doom and gloom, as an increase to initial burst accuracy on hand cannons was happily received by the community, and most players feel as though they might feel a lot like they did in year 1. I have mixed feelings on the damage falloff though, as it makes the range stat even more critical than it already is, essentially eliminating the variety of hand cannons that could be used on a consistent and competitive basis. Overall, this wasn't the primary buff I was hoping for, and in a vacuum, I feel they really missed the mark on enabling them to be more reliable combatants against shotguns. Well, outside the vacuum, it seems like Bungie tried answering that issue in their own way by changing the way special ammo works. Guardians will now lose all the special ammo they have upon dying, but special ammo crates will now spawn every 60 seconds. While I will stop short of saying it's going to be far more risky to use special weapons, it certainly makes reckless encounters less enticing. Also, I'm very reluctant to spend too much time discussing something that I haven't experienced and is very different than what we've already experienced. But on the surface, my guess is this may create an even slower meta with even more camping, coupled with the fact that nothing is being done to the memory of Skouries. The last time the special ammo economy was changed, glitches and sidearms came to the forefront, and not in a good way. I can't imagine that's how Bungie envisions sidearms having their time in the sun, and players obviously don't want to be forced into 1 or 2 loadouts. Only time will tell if this change creates the environment that both Bungie and the player base are hoping for, but if this is their way of making primaries more effective against shotguns, I don't think it's a step in the right direction. Now, everyone knew a nerf to shotguns was coming, and reducing the aim assist on hipfire may eliminate some panic kills that cause some frustration among many players, but as my clanmate Apex Chris pointed out on our most recent episode of RezoCast, decreasing the accuracy while in the air actually takes away some of the skill involved in using the weapon. I understand that the intent was to stop the aping tactics that some players complain about, but on the flip side, using vertical space to outsmart opponents was a key component in winning shotgun versus shotgun engagements. Moving on to the class changes, a reduction in the range on the Stormcaller melee was a positive, although I was more in the camp that felt that the auto-lock on the melee itself was a bigger issue. Still, it's a step in the right direction if it indeed reduces the frequency in which you run into an opposing fire team of all Stormcallers. I feel like reducing how long Storm Trance lasts would have made more sense if a player is using Ionic Blink and not Landfall, but perhaps that is too much of a nerf considering the grenades for Stormcallers are terrible. Obviously, the Hungering Blade change for Blade Dancers was a head-scratcher, and seemingly needless. In fact, fixing the hit registration and the randomness of swipes was an actual issue that I was hoping they would fix. When it comes to Blade Dancers, why didn't they talk about skip grenades, especially in conjunction with Shinobu's Vow, as that's the only issue that the subclass currently has? The nerf to Juggernaut was hardly a nerf, as most proficient players will simply activate it while running before Titan skating. I suppose the mid-air nerf coupled with decreased accuracy of shotguns in the air will accomplish what some players are hoping for, but this is just another example of indirectly trying to fix an issue in two steps rather than be bold and decisive. Why not just reduce the amount of time that Juggernaut lasts, or reduce the effectiveness of the shield itself? In addition to what I mentioned above, I would have liked to have seen a buff to arc bolt grenades, as they are borderline useless right now. In increasing the amount of ammo you pick up from special ammo crates while using a sniper, as 4 rounds is absurdly low, and a little more thought behind how flinch works on snipers. If I am aiming down the sights and getting hit with an auto rifle from long range, that shouldn't flinch me in the same way as a scout rifle does from the same range. In the end, I am anxious to see how these changes play out next Tuesday, and I am cautiously optimistic. Still, we're in year 3 of Destiny, and I feel like a lot of these changes resemble ones that were unsuccessful in the past. Ignoring the biggest issues while indirectly trying to solve others hasn't been the most successful model, and I think that Bungie missed a really good opportunity to test a different approach heading into Destiny 2. Let me know your thoughts of the preview in the comment section below, and until the next video guys, I hope everyone has a great day.
Wilson with all the bad luck. Another one there, same place. Ooh, you were so gross.
Dude, I got